All right, let's get to hear from the ladies this morning. Buki, good morning. How are you today?
Okay, Buki is doing great, and I really want to thank God. Good, yeah. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. So, good morning, my beautiful women, Susan and Ipinapo, and of course the people that is making this thing to happen, our
Mm,
Lens family, wherever you are, because without you, we are nothing. That's it. So there is God, Sha. There is God. There is God. There is God. But I mean, you make us happy because we know you are there. Not all of you can actually reach out to us, but for those who try to reach out, we celebrate you. We say thank you, and we'll keep doing this as long as you are always there for us. And I trust you will always be there for us.
yeah.
Okay, Rose.
All right, thank you so much, Buki. Susan, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Rose. Good morning, Buki. Good morning, Ibinabo. Good morning, HerLens family. I'm doing great, absolutely great today. And I hope everyone else is doing great too.
Of course, thank you very much, Susan. Ipinabo, Ekaro. I don't know if this is say good morning in Calabari, but how are you? Let me leave it like that.
Good, good morning, beautiful ladies. Lady Susan, Lady Bookie, Lady Rose. Where I come from, when you say good morning, you say Oba.
You say that again?
It is one person,
Uh,
singular. You say but if like all the ladies, like I say, our lens beautiful ladies, Oba.
but okay. All right,
Good morning,
so all
fantastic
right.
listeners, valued listeners. Good morning.
Good morning, about everybody. Ibinabo, Susan, and Buki. It's good to have you this morning as we pick up on the conversation from when we left off yesterday. Now, yesterday we talked about Workers' Day in arrears and some of the challenges that workers, Nigerian workers do face, and how we can just make some of these things better. And hopefully, we don't come and sound like a broken record by next year, like Ibinabo pointed out. Okay, so today we'll just look at how we have the Nigerian Governors Forum, pushing for paternity leave, um, for so many other states to adopt the. I'm just, reading through it. I was just, shocked to realize that a lot of, some states have not even adopted the policy for paternity leave, which is quite sad. Because I mean, I just thought it was, the usual everywhere, not knowing that some people are actually not practicing it. So I'm just hoping that they get to do all of that. But you can be a part of the conversation by dialing 07000 or 08155, or rather 09155 Do well to send us WhatsApp messages to 07031756537. Those are the numbers to get in touch with us today on Her Lens. All right, so heading on to this report coming from The Guardian that says that Nigeria's Governors Forum and others push for paternity leave as 14 states adopt policy. Now, the Governors Forum joined stakeholders under the Nigerian Women Leadership Coalition to heighten the call for 16 weeks of maternity leave and 2 weeks of paternity leave to workers as part of efforts to improve productivity and family welfare. Now, the forum, alongside caregivers, staged a rally at the entrance of the Federal Ministry of Labour and Productivity in Abuja to call on the state government and the private sector to adopt the policy, describing it as a critical step towards supporting nursing mothers, nursing parents, and strengthening workforce efficiency. Um, so we're talking about 16 weeks. That's I think about 4 months. Yeah, if we're looking at if we're looking at it from that angle, that's close to 4 months or so. Now, usually what we have is 3 months everywhere. Private organizations and even the public, um, public parastatals or so, they actually have, you know, the policy of 3 months, and for some states they've actually adopted 6 months for the mothers. But for the parents, the fathers, not everybody has adopted it. So I just want us to you know, speak on this and how, you know, we think about this, because at the end of the day, we know that pregnancy is not easy, and we know that giving birth is also it also has its toll on it, you know, on the woman and even on the family itself. Now, caring for that child for the first 3 months, first 4 months of that child's life is critical, you know, to the development of the child. So let's hear from you ladies. And we know that you know, Ibinabo na mother now, maybe na even grandma now, or maybe she go stand the near am. Book itself go don dey look that grandma side, or maybe she don day one. But you know, so far when we look at where we're coming from and where we are, juxtaposing where we are heading to as regards to this maternity leave, do you think we need more? Because a lot of things are coming up. Our bodies are no longer the same. Some of the things that our grandmothers could do, we cannot do them right now. All right, so things are changing and times are changing. And children these days, if you don't start with them from then, you know, you might just be given that kind of void or gap, or, you know, something that could just happen. And at the end of the day, it's the woman that gets blamed. You know, so let's just speak to this for a few minutes. I'll just give us about maybe five minutes each to just speak about it and what our thoughts are as regards to the 14 weeks, 16 weeks maternity leave and the 2 weeks for paternity leave. Ibinabo, let's start with you on this one.
So I can't push me forward now.
So yesterday now you end that. Today maybe you start.
Okay, it's a good one that Nigeria Governors Forum joined this added their voice to the voice that has been speaking concerning this all this while. Yeah. I'm going to even particularly be looking at the 2 weeks paternity leave to workers. It is, you know, to encourage, you know, shared parenting responsibilities, which I support totally. And for a supportive husband, the outcomes would be very tremendous. You know, there are some men who would really love to spend some time with their newborn, but because of work, they don't have the chance, the opportunity to do that. So it's an opportunity for them to do that. Yes, we are talking about 2 weeks, you know, with full remuneration, I hope, not a fraction of salaries to support. I feel that if all the schools that have already keyed into this, the salary is complete, please. And that is when it is beautiful, because as a you have a lot of responsibilities to take care of. As a new mom, you have a lot of responsibilities to take care of that. You're going to need extra to stop out. So I hope, you know, there's some places where, like a place like UK, no, US.
Yeah.
You have maternity leave. I think a very fat one at that, but it doesn't come from remuneration. So it's like you're given a choice. You either choose it and not get paid, or you stay back at work and then manage your time with your new baby. So I feel that it's strong. I mean, the gains very much. You know, there is a strong father, and also we are looking at the co-parenting. You know, we share a of the mother. When I did house, I had I was given certain medication that I reacted to, and you know, my husband was available, so you know, what's going on, He was the one noticing I was having rashes in some places I'd not even noticed because I was engrossed with the newborn and all of that. He was the one who noticed that I was mentioning this and that. Remember, to certain, but I wouldn't even know because I'd not taken such before. So care of anyway. So you see, fathers become more active in child care and housework. That is, those who have given themselves to that. Because, when you're talking about paternity, you are looking at culture vis-a-vis this leave, because an aspect of our culture or in some parts of Nigeria, men are not some things, like going into the kitchen to be cooking for the wife or doing certain things, you understand? So, men, people who say the culture will say, go back at home and sleep and watch their favorite channel on TV and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, the leave is clearly made. But I want to tell everybody out there that, do you know it's very important, because there are so many things. There are going to be physical changes, there's going to be weight fluctuation, there's going to be skin changes, and then the part that interests people, that is what very, very interested in what their newborn is, such men, you are going to experience the cut tongue. Some people within a week, some people to stay as long as 2 weeks. So you see that your babies, the part of the cord, the umbilical cord that was cut, the one will remain.
Yeah.
So they take care of the spirit, they clean, they do all different things in different cultures. You have different ways of taking care of it till it gets dried up and falls off. You're going to experience it as a father. It is very interesting if when a man is given the 2 weeks and he truthfully, sincerely spends that time with the new mother and the new baby. It's a very strong moment to bond. And I believe that when you spend that time with your wife and the baby, you would express a lot of things. Like, that is the period where your wife is, if she gave birth via vaginal birth, she is trying to snap back into shape. For me, that is when I will use the hottest water to massage my tummy. That is why I don't talk to my belly flat, but I mean it's not like most people in my age bracket. You understand?
Yeah.
I did the loves. I was very deliberate and intentional about it. So these are the things you will experience. I remember a person of mine told me, that the day the wife was going, his mother was taking his wife into the bathroom to take care of her, that he said, are you guys not going to? He said he didn't know, because that particular time there was no power supply, so they were trying to manage the generator and everything. So they could not on the water heater in the bathroom. So they had to boil the water in the kitchen. So she said, that is it, or else your wife, her tummy will be like this, like as if she's still pregnant and all of that. And it was like, it will be too hot. It was very irritated. And the wife said, no, it's okay that she would endure because of the end result. And let us not forget that when the load is shared, it becomes
lighter.
And also, you do not know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. I mean, my cousin told me about it, and he told me with every sense of responsibility, like I was, he was feeling very happy about it, and it was talking like an experience. Your wife just born one. In my mind, though, you people have a long way to go, depending on how many number of children you want to have. And I also say that a healthy home builds a productive worker.
Yeah.
Nobody is happy. Wife is happy with husband. She knows that her husband was at home for 2 weeks to help her. So that, like I said earlier, that moment has become a beautiful memory. So it is, when the woman has a beautiful memory of her husband, Sometimes when the man mess upset, it's easier to forgive him, and those are very critical moments when you are in pain. You just had a baby, and if it's tears, you are in pain, you are waiting for the area that was sutured or stitched to heal and all of that. And you have a caring husband by your side. You have to spare to look at you and look at the beauty to have brought into the family and all of that. It's very important. It is important for the husbands who are available, not the ones who will collect the 2 weeks and go and be spending it doing other things and not what it was given for. And also, I also believe that if mothers deserve time to care, I think fathers too deserve time to support, because the 2 weeks is for you to bond with your baby, to support your wife and all of that. And it builds stronger homes and better outcomes for children. When a baby is around a week, 2 weeks, by the time the baby is 2 weeks, the baby starts, differentiating the mother's voice from the father's voice.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's not always there. So his voice is very special. You understand how babies grow. When you are pregnant, you always, of course, you will discuss, you will talk, you will shout, you will say something. This baby hears and has to understand and familiarize with your voice. So when this baby is given birth to, baby knows that okay, this voice is familiar. I've been hearing this voice forever. So the baby is very familiar with your voice, and the baby is learning sounds and voices. So the father's voice, in the first 2 weeks, when you keep hearing your father's voice, the baby is getting used to that voice. So when a baby hears that voice, there is something I can't explain it, but I've experienced it with baby. When the father speaks, the baby is crying. When he hears the father's voice, it will pause.
All right.
Continue, will just pause. So you can imagine if a baby, if a father had built, made available this bond between him and the baby, and then you talk to your baby. So all of this is, you don't want to miss out on it. And if you grow this baby like that into adulthood, there is this strong bond. So there will be no cry of, hey, your wife is going for a mugo, they are leaving you. They will not leave you behind, because you are part of. You are part of everything in that child's life. So that child is not going to just be looking at the mother alone. That child is going to carry the two of you along, and not use God to my mommy. No, because the bond is there. So please, as fathers, it's an opportunity for you. I hope that the 3 Sunday will become 3, will become 4, and I hope that the men this to bond with their babies will actually and sincerely bond with the babies and support the wife. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Ibinabo. From looking at it from different angles, especially as it affects, the both parents and the care that they actually need and they want to give to the kid, itself. This is your Women Radio WFM 91.7. This is 9:30, and this is still the program HerLens. So we discuss, dissect, and disagree on topical issues right here on Women Radio. All right, so please do want to be a part of the conversation by dialing 07000 or 08155 send us WhatsApp messages. Let's get to hear from you, or better still, call us on 09155 Our toll-free line is up and running too. So do well to dial 08123. Okay, let me be sure about that number before I give it out. Okay. So yes, our toll-free number is 0800 123 All right, so Buki, let's come to you. Let's hear your thoughts on this, and then Susan gets to wrap up the conversation for us.
Yeah, I was actually saying that, or rather, I was actually thinking, not saying, I was thinking that Benaba has said everything now. What else do you want to hear from us? She has, and it's true. I mean, because the way she went from one perspective to another perspective, and it was well rounded. Honestly, I don't know what else you want us to add, but if you want us to say one or two things,
Just the
you
one or two before we move on.
let me see one or two things. Okay. Well, probably I would like to add to what Benaba had said concerning what happens globally. Right now, globally they're looking at shared responsibility. They're looking at shared responsibility where they want the father to participate, at that early age. And like Bunabo said, she had painted the whole picture, to us. So just to add that even globally, they are looking at that. Some countries do give more than the 2 weeks that people are even advocating for in Nigeria. And
Yeah.
and yeah, so some countries do that. I mean, people can Google, I know about Sweden, I know about Finland, I know about UK. Yeah, I mean those are the ones that I know. Even up to, I think Sweden does almost 90 days, but by and large most people probably do 2 months, and all that. And then even for the woman, okay, before I go to the woman, even for the men, some even pay more during that period because they know that expenses is going to be on the increase. And for the maternity side, I mean, oh yes, I mean, if they stretch it to 14 weeks, why not? At least I know that some states, like they said, some states are already doing it. I don't see why the whole 36 states should not do that and even make it, tutory. Yeah, because they should understand that process is part of nation building. When the home is settled, like Gunabo said, I mean, when the home is settled and you are healed and you have the man is there to support, the women. And in wrapping up, if you look at the way it is structured, that 12 weeks, many times they would tell you that you are supposed to take 6 weeks before and 6
Yeah.
weeks after.
6 weeks after.
But let them do the statistics. It's only those that their body is really, really weak that actually take that 6 weeks before. Many times people will prefer to start. They can take a week, before their due date and things like that, because they don't know. They only know that it's plus or minus 2 weeks. They can take that, and then because they want more time, and it's true, they want more time, for the body to heal, for them to get themselves together. A new baby is there. They need to arrange. Even the baby needs to be comfortable. So, I mean, by the time they look at that, they should actually make it more. And then, of course, this 50% thing, I know, I mean, I'm also talking from the angle of, I mean, who pays the salary and all that. Honestly, I understand. But for that period, honestly, I think they should just do their full salary, because a whole lot, they need a whole lot. Yeah, that is when somebody comes in, to help. And of course, it's not easy when you have somebody else again to help in terms of feeding and all that. So these are things that they should look at, and let's have a healthy society. But honestly, for men, I want to support that, because that is when the man will now really appreciate what that woman has gone through and should be there. And like Ibunabo said, that is not the time for you to go outside and say, no, it's that time you come back. Because you see, men, when they go out to work, right? They come back, they are tired. The next thing they want to do is to sleep. And that is when the baby is now making, yeah. And at times they get irritated and things like that. They need to understand. I mean, government also needs to understand that. Let's look at it from that angle. For that 2 weeks, they're already adjusting. And of course, their mindset is glued to that, okay, at least when I come back, you will cry. Okay, no problem. At least I am adjusting. And they are now seeing it as a bundle of joy, not as a bundle of stress. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you to Buki for pointing that out. And because that's 6 weeks before and 6 weeks after, there was a time that I had to question it. But a lot of women will see that, because I will say, okay, if you're supposed to take 6 weeks before, so you give birth and they are telling me after 6 weeks I should come back. The 6 weeks before, will I? So anyway, we know that bodies are different.
Let me confess. Let me confess. God was good to me. God was good to me, and I give all the glory to God. I always write my maternity leave after I deliver in the hospital. That's when I write. They say, "But I saw yesterday now." Because I need that 12 weeks. But like I said, I give God the glory. It's not me, it's God, because there are some people that actually need that rest. You understand? But women need more time when the baby comes. Thank you.
All right, thank you too, Buki, for adding that. Yeah, women need more time when the baby comes, and that's why lots of women don't even look at that 6 weeks before. They'll rather just shift it to just take 1 week before. And sometimes some of them say they enter hospital, then they will call HR, say, okay, I don't born, no, I want to start everything now. All right, Susan, let's quickly hear from you before we move on.
Okay, just like Buki said, I mean, everything has been said, from various angles. I think from my end, I'd like to encourage that the domestication be done. For states that have not adopted this, it is pertinent. And remember, some states even give 6 months maternity leave. Yes, some states give 6 months maternity leave. So, I mean, it also shows how you react to the welfare of your staffs. And I want to be particular because I know in federal civil service, it's standard or government parastatals, but I want to focus on those who are in the private sector. Those in the private, and a large chunk of Nigerians are outside the government sector. How do we ensure that these persons, because they are the ones whose salaries are slashed, not those of us within the government system. No, they don't tamper with our salary, and we get to enjoy the full-time. But how do we ensure that those who are outside government offices, that they get to enjoy these things fully with their full salaries, like Buki said, because I mean, that is when they need money most. They have an added man being, they have added people who want to support, care for the child, and so they need all of the money that they can get, and it's also important that we look at ways to promote, maybe even if it is to incentivize, private sectors that do some of these things. Again, when you come back to work, do they have a nursery for a nursing mother? It's not very easy to just send your child to a daycare. It should be something, it should be one of the policies that your workplaces should have a nursery where you can drop your child after breastfeeding and everything. Your child is safe, because I mean, it's part of motherhood. It's part of motherhood, and so people should have such spaces within their workplaces where they can keep their child, where they can move to go and feed their child. I mean, you don't enforce it on them. Oh, you have to send the child to, with which money, when you are paying the person half salary, Let's also ensure that we give men time, because somewhere I worked before, they made it just 7 days for the guy, and that was his first child. Just 7 days. So I think that if we look at all of these things, we should prioritize the well-being of our staffs, whether male or female, and ensure that there are places where feeding can be done. Please, I know times are hard and all of that, but if you can, ensure to pay these people their complete salaries, because I mean, cutting it into two, slashing it, some people don't even pay. It's not encouraging in any way. And then, when I talk of some of these things, sorry, I belong to a community that I must represent. There are also women with disabilities who are nursing mothers, nursing fathers. Do we factor in such human beings. I keep saying this because in Nigeria, persons with disabilities are over 35 million. And some countries in the world are not up to 35 million. So there is no way we would not look at ways, because some of these nurseries have been to workplaces where I went to audit them. The workplaces can barely enter someone. So imagine a Susan who uses a wheelchair coming into such places. It means it would not even take me. Let's embrace inclusion, because it is the new normal, whether it's a private sector or a public sector. Thank you.
All right, thank you to Susan for giving your take on this. All right, this is your Women Radio WFM 91.7, and this is a program, The Lens, where we get to discuss, dissect, and disagree on topical issues. And right now, we just talked about the Nigerian Governors Forum, lending their voices, joining it with stakeholders to make sure that, or rather to heighten the call for the 16 weeks of maternity and 2 weeks for paternity leave to workers. I mean, we just talked about Workers' Day last week, Friday. So all of these things actually constituted. And yesterday, we're really talking about the welfare of the Nigerian worker. And these are some of the things, okay? These are some of the things. I've heard some people, in fact, I don't know how we get to regulate some of the companies we have here. So I live in Ogun State, around Lagos Ibadan Expressway. So I have people around me who work in a lot of these Chinese companies that are just along there. And then one of my aunts who was pregnant, and I was, just casually talking to her. And I was saying, how far her leave, maternity leave and all. She said, those people, they will just tell you to, at some point, when they notice that you are far gone, they will tell you to stop work. And then I was like, okay, so when you stop, how about maternity, leave or payment? And she said, no, there's nothing like that. It's just come, do your work and go. When you give birth, take the time you need and come back without any pay. And I was like, who gets to regulate all of these things, for crying out loud? So the only thing that they can do for you is that, oh, okay, the only thing they can do for you is to probably hold that spot for you. So if they are able to hold that spot for you till you come back, fine. That's if you even have a good organ. And that's because, so she just went on saying that, oh, well, it's because the job is you get paid as much as you do. So if you're able to do maybe a particular, I think they weigh their jobs in kg or something like that. So if you're particular, if you're able to do 3-4 hours hitting a particular spot or getting, I don't know, they just how they get to calculate their things for them. But even at that, I just felt, at least these women who have been working with you, you find a way to maybe support them. But then again, that brings the issue of, regulation. That brings the issue of how the state itself cares about every worker, even if the owners of those companies are foreigners. How do they treat those workers in these companies? Because that's something that, the government needs to take up. We can't just sit down, give them land, do all of their, their industries and all of that. And then the welfare of the workers inside. Do we really sit down to think about, do they even have a union that comes together to make sure that all of these things are gone? Or, okay, well, they've paid all their dues. So if you like, work. If you like, cry. If you like, whatever happens to you, it totally concerns you. It totally concerns you. The other day, that's how one of my brothers who worked there came back and said, oh, that they told all of them to go on compulsory leave. Compulsory leave, but what happened? And that they said, if you don't go now, nobody again is going for any other leave. Even if your father or your mother die, you're not going anywhere again. I said, which will come be all this one like this? A lot is just going on. And funny enough, we're just changing directions to things that I don't just get. All right, Tibinabo, quickly, please.
Okay, I just want to thank you, Rose. I just want to quickly respond to what you just said. I mean, an organization where a woman has worked and worked, then because she's pregnant and she's far gone with pregnancy, you just use Ojoro to let her go. so that you would not take responsibility for maternity leave and payments. That's for I think we should begin to look at this is a point that we need to raise higher and talk about it louder, make a lot of noise about it, because this that you have mentioned and other things are happening to Nigerians working in companies, organizations owned by foreigners. And this is totally unacceptable because it is unlawful and it is discriminatory.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think, I don't know what the Nigerian labor principles of law says about it, but I feel that, I mean, there has to be something one can do, a member of can do about it. If they talk about it a lot, because pregnancy is not a liability. So it is a protected condition tied to health, to dignity, and to family life. So if, because you are a cheat as an organization, you feel that, okay, this woman is pregnant and so now she will go maternity leave, and they will now be paying her money for the work she has not done. That is totally unacceptable. Even to the maltreatment we have been hearing from different corners of such organizations, it is high to be looked into, and we make a lot of noise about it. It can't go on. Don't do that in other countries. So they shouldn't take whatever it is they have met on ground for granted and begin to maltreat Nigerians like that. We need to talk about it, and it will get to the ears of those who should take action. Nigerian labor should look into this. The organization should look into this. The Congress or whoever should look into this. I mean, it is. I mean, how do we do that? This is corruption.
It is. It is.
I mean, the practice, it undermines trust, and they don't know that it could damage their reputation. And it is a sign that they are not committed to their employees' welfare. And this is unacceptable. It is a disgrace to that organization, and it is unacceptable in this country. And our leaders should begin to look into all of these things, because there are so many things that workers are going through, mostly in the private sector, and
nobody's saying anything about it.
There was on this particular program, sorry to take our time, on this particular program, we discussed a man who was injured by his Chinese boss. It was in the news. The person actually, the victim, I won't call him the victim, was actually brought to a hospital in Arepo. And afterwards, because of lack of payment, they had to transfer him to another hospital in Ogun State. And the story became so bad that the Ogun State government intervened. But you know, sometimes these stories, then eventually you don't get to hear anything again. Somebody will tell somebody, I don't know. And it is a shame, because if you don't know how to treat your own well, nobody will. So we need to begin to organizations who are very, very, who would brazenly maltreat the staff from their host country. It is bad. It is bad and unacceptable. Please, they need to come and talk more about it so that the relevant agencies will look into it. We cannot be doing that service for foreigners in our own country. I cannot go to your country and serve as a second citizen, then in my own country, I'm also a second citizen to you. For what? It is totally unacceptable, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ibinabo. I don't know. I just hope that our governments are doing what they should do, because if you hear some of the things that this, the workers of some of these Chinese companies or maybe Lebanese, I don't know, foreign companies around this, our Lagos Ibadan Expressway up to, maybe you get to Abeokuta or you're going towards Jagam, you see a lot of them. And you see the people that work there, sometimes when they tell you some of the stories that they get to experience and how they are being treated, now vex could just they catch you, because at the end of the day you just find out that, oh well, as long as they pay all their dues to the government does not have anything to say with regards to the welfare of the the workers there. Sometimes it will even take maybe a foreign body that is outside the state government itself, or maybe outside the federal government, that would come to audit those companies, that would actually instill some kinds of maybe rules and regulations, or probably give some maybe mark some kinds of amounts that they should not go below when it comes to payments. Okay, so it's just one kind. When you hear the things that are happening, and then at the end of this, people must work. Lots of them are students who maybe finish secondary school. They are trying to make their way to maybe higher institutions. Some of them are women who are just struggling to do one or two things, just to make ends meet. A lot of them are, in short, no, it's just one kind when you see what is happening there. But anyway, we'll drop it from.
Let me interject you. Do you know that a particular story that we discussed also on this program, there was a particular company that mandated every Nigerian in that company to address their Chinese organs as masters, and they will greet them. They will either kowtow or they bend. I don't know whatever they do there. And there was a particular story that when a particular man, refused to. I mean, let me greet him normally, the way I would greet every other Nigerian boss. This man went into their kung fu, ching fights, and he's for what we ready, he's a pro somehow, and he badly injured this man. He put all this their Chinese fight, their kung fu or whatever to injure this man, and the man was. That was why the man was struggling for his benefits. That story broke, and a newspaper close by carried up. And please do something. You see, you make the country such a hard knock place to live in. The economy is funny. Foreign investors will come in and treat us, and then everywhere we go, you want to travel, they want to give you special search. You are working, they treat you like a third citizen. Is it not frustrating? I mean, they must come through for us, please. Our leaders must come through for us. Thank you. It's very disappointing.
It is indeed very disappointing. I just hope that we wake up to the realities of what's going on as regards to, workers in Nigeria. All right, so this is your Women Radio, and this is where we wrap the conversation up this morning. Do well to please stay with us. Thank you so much, ladies, for today. Thank you to each and every one of you who tuned in to listen to HerLens this morning. My name is Rose Yusuf Kaiser. Do well to stay locked and stay with us right here on Women Radio WFM 91.7. Good morning.